She's a certified medical practitioner who has, with the license in by the Kenya Medical Practitioners Dentist Council, Kenya Medical Association member, and he's a dedicated consultant psychiatrist with an experience in delivery of great client outcomes through skilled collaborative diagnosis, personalized individual and family, and also holistic multifaceted care, embracing the World Health Organization by psychology, biopsychosocial spiritual model. And then she's also enthusiastic about partnering with like-minded people to bring mental health revolution in children and adults. And we just saw it wise for us as ed partners to have such kind of a session for all our school directors and even the teachers, just to create this awareness that mental health is very key, and your mental wellness as a school director, when you're running that school, as a teacher, when you're teaching the learners, when you're handling children, that it's very important to be at the right state of mind, because you're not only dealing with the life of any adult around the school, but also you're dealing with the life of the children. So I just want to urge you, as we continue, please continue sharing the link widely to any person, of course, within the education community, any person, of course, interested party within the school sector, so that they're able to learn more and get to understand more on matters to do with the mental health. And just to let you know, in line with data protection, we are very keen. This webinar is being recorded, and the same will be shared to some of our social media platforms. And without any further ado, I will welcome Dr. Milka Orlando. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Betty. I hope you can hear me. Okay, thank you. And then have you enabled me to like share the slides when it gets to that?
Yes, I've enabled you.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. So let me start by saying thank you so much for the invite. I am really humbled to be on this big platform. It's not a small one. I don't take it for granted. And I mean, for me, it's a breakthrough, because in our field, we just want everybody to understand mental health, because it's very key to everyone's existence. And so looking at an education space as this, giving that kind of a platform for me, I'm thanking God, and I know that it's not in vain. We are going to learn. Your educators are gonna teach me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I welcome you to interact. My style is interaction, because that's the best way to learn. So feel free to educate as you think you're going to learn from me.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you so much. Let me try to do the screen sharing, but as I do that, I hope we have like some feedback mechanism where I can ask a question and see some responses, right?
Oh, yes. Actually, of course, after the webinar, we'll have a question and answer session. Where,
and during, am I able to ask a question and get a response like through text or something like that?
Yes. We normally probably after the training, after the session, we can open it.
It's only after.
Yes.
Okay.
But you'll want it to be very interactive.
Yes. That's what I like. So
yes. So
just allowing
to
that the listener can type in a response, and most likely to come to you, so you'll let me know what it is.
Okay, that's okay. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much. So as I try to do the screen sharing, where is the button for screen sharing? Yeah. As I try to do the screen sharing, allow me to ask this to my participants, considering their school heads, and we coordinate a lot of things around learning. So this webinar was requested for in view of the just it was ongoing, but now I would say they just happened, the calamity of floods. So maybe just take a few seconds and type in that box what you feel has been your stress points during this whole experience. What have you picked as what didn't go so well, what stressed you or someone around you or that child, whatever it was. Yes. So can be typing as I share my slide. Ooh, Betty, are you able to see my slide?
Yes, yes, yes.
Excellent. Okay. Have you gotten any response so far?
And not yet, but
Not yet.
not yet. Let me just
Okay.
maybe ask them, please type any question. Please
Please type your response, even
yes.
if it's a question you're asking or it's something you're expressing that you feel happened during that calamity of floods. Just share, even if it's something that is still stressing you up to now. Feel free to share, so that I can feel like I'm speaking to real issues, not virtual. It's a virtual session, but I want us to be real in the situation. Okay. Yes. So as we wait for the text to come in, as you can see, the session is about mental health in our schools, and especially during calamities, just in the name of looking at what we've gone through in a short while ago. Let me do slideshow. Good. Yes. So as we are looking at this topic, I'm cognizant of the fact that learning, education is a very key element in health. Like we say health is very important, but if you don't even know what this health is, then you can't meet that health need. So education becomes very important in even throwing light to what we need to know about health. So mental health in itself is a very broad thing, very, very broad. We'll get to that as we move on, but let's start with what we were asked to address. Yeah, the calamity, floods. Floods is an example of calamity, what we call calamity in our space. And calamity, I believe we are all familiar with. Yeah, calamity, any disruption that happens on a large scale affecting the functioning of a community. And most of the time, it acts with the conditions of exposure, like what is the situation on ground when that event is happening? Yeah, what it finds on ground and the vulnerability of the people or the structures, the capacity for us to handle that incident is what actually turns it into a true calamity, a visible calamity. And more often than not, you realize that where there are more prepared people, more prepared resources, you rarely hear of calamity. Not that they don't face such things, but the magnitude is more or less insignificant. So basically, any of those things that is going to interfere with our community functioning is a calamity. It will affect many things, people, it will affect our materials. I believe just the flooding season we've had has taught us that, you can lose people. We've lost pupils, we've lost parents, we've lost funders and all those people. We've lost houses. Yeah, we've lost items, got lost in those material things, and I'm sure those of us who head institutions are about to start seeing a lot of us coming to replace our academic documents because they were swept by the waters. Okay, so economically we are affected because if your source of livelihood has been swept by this calamity, I mean, you're starting from either ground zero for those who have somewhere to start, or back to the negatives. And some people actually, when they are crying during this calamity, it's not so much that the house has been swept away. It is a lot more to do with, I had invested everything here, so where do I even start? I have nowhere to start. You know, that frustration, that disappointment really makes the magnitude of the effect too much. So the impact becomes so real. So when you see this photo, the lower part is giving you something like those traffic lights. So the more prepared you are, the less the calamity swallows you. Okay? Yeah, I hope we get the point. Okay, so Betty, in case you get responses there, just notify me so that we can look at it. It can inform our interactions as we continue.
Yeah, that's fine.
Meanwhile, yeah.
Oh, I'm saying that's fine. That's okay. Yeah, once I
Okay,
get responses, I'll just let you know.
Okay, fine. So the calamity, as I've said, impacts on a lot of things. And a lot of the times these calamities come and affect almost all forms of our infrastructure. Okay. A simplified way would be how we define health by WHO, the World Health Organization standards, and we look at health in a holistic way. There is what we call your educators allow me to use this phrase, compound word. Yes, you taught me in what, somewhere in primary, compound word. So there's this compound word, you can write it somewhere. It's going to be handy in a lot of our conversations. Yeah, so bio, psycho, social, spiritual model. That's the word. Bio, psycho, social, spiritual. Bio is just BIO, okay? Psycho, PS. ICHO, and then social, we know social, spiritual. Okay, so that's the compound word, biopsychosocial, spiritual. So that model in health for us explains so many things. It includes everything. So when we are saying what is the calamity doing to us, you're looking at biologically speaking, what is it doing? Okay. So you can see we are saying it's disrupting our basic provisions. Biologically, you want to eat, you want to sleep, you want to exercise. That is disrupted, okay? And sometimes that calamity has caused you a broken limb, it has caused you a bruise, whatever. So physically speaking, it has disrupted people, okay? Psychologically, it has disrupted our thinking because you just thought you've built a whole flat for rentals, so your retirement is secure, and then this flat just sweeps it away. You see, psychologically speaking, honestly, you're traumatized. You're thinking the worst, like, I can't just get anything right. And actually, when I was building this thing, someone told me, why did I not even listen? So you're traumatized at the event. Okay, why did this happen? Sometimes we even now blaming so and so. Okay, if it were not like this, yeah. So psychologically, we get traumatized. It's not a good experience for anybody. Socially, we look at the people and the resources. So people-wise, yeah, people are affected. We lose connection with our loved ones. Some of them have died, others are still in hospital nursing, the repercussions. So socially, we are disrupted. Economically, we are disrupted. Okay, our sources of livelihood have been swept away, our savings, all those. So you can imagine, yeah. Then spiritually, I don't know if we think much about that, but spiritually speaking, we also lose during calamity, because when something like that happens, you're asking a lot of questions that only God can answer. And you're even thinking, is it possible that, that other day when I didn't go to church or I didn't go to the mosque, now this is happening today? Like, yeah, you ask many existential questions. Or some people will be like, is God telling me something in this moment? So it's also a spiritual moment. And in such times, sometimes someone goes through a spiritual distress because they are confused, they're not understanding this, they're not finding footage in this, they are just wondering, why must this happen to me at this time? Okay, yeah. So you see, that's in brief just summarizes the whole spectrum of what happens to us. There's more to every docket, but in a nutshell, that biopsychosocial spiritual model helps you then as an educator to explain this calamity and help in general to anybody, okay? So we say everyone exposed is vulnerable to be affected, whether biologically, psychologically, socially, economically, or spiritually. So that's why as an educator, we want to just be there for everybody without profiling and thinking, this one is from this family, it can't affect them, or this one is, this one lives in Nairobi, they can't feel it. I mean, we are so connected in different ways. We are affected in different ways. So first contact, just assume this person is affected. After you assess, that's when you will decide how much they're affected. But don't just make assumptions of this one can't be affected. Okay. So that's for calamity, and floods are part of calamities. We saw cyclones. Yes, there are also calamities. We see a lot of things. Even when a drought happens, it becomes a calamity. So all those things that affect us on large scale are calamities. So how do we match this with mental health? Mental health in itself is just that ability to maintain a successful mental activity. It's not the best way to describe something educationally, because we repeated the word mental, but in simple terms, it simply means that you are able to, mental health means the ability to think, feel, believe, and behave right, okay, in a way that is safe for you and the people around you, including the resources around you. Basically, that is what it means. And so when we are looking at mental health, basically, we are looking at the functions of the brain. Mental health is a function of the brain, okay? The other parts of the body will come in because the brain coordinates them. But the primary organ affected is the brain, okay? So this brain has these many functions. So when something goes wrong in any of these functions, we can tell, oh, this brain is not doing well. I'll simplify this for us. Think of mental health in terms of stress spectrum. See this picture that is showing this stress loop. There is the green end, yellow, orange, and red at the other extreme, okay? So these colors are just for us to picture stress on a continuum, that it is always a spectrum. Stress can be low, stress can be moderate, stress can be extreme. Stress in itself is a natural phenomenon. It happens to everyone that is alive, and it's very healthy. You must be stressed, by the way, to even achieve anything in life. So when we're saying stress, we have what we call the good and bad. The good stress is what we call eustress in medicine. Eustress, like EU stress. But the bad stress is the distress. Okay? So the green here is depicting no stress. See those people who say, I'm never stressed. I don't care. I don't mind. Most of those people, you realize they don't go out to do things. They don't set out to have this plan, this achievement, because they're not allowing any stress on them. They seem so comfortable with what they have, even if it seems too little. And at the end of the day, they become the idlers you meet. They become the non-achievers. 10 years down the line, they're the same person you saw, or even worse, those years ago, because they're not allowing any stress near them. So let me tell you, if you've been stressed, that's healthy. At least it means your brain is thinking. It's only when your brain is thinking that stress manifests. Okay, so as long as you're working with the yellow stress, which we call the U stress, the healthy stress, that this stress is able to help you organize things, put things in a schedule, look for solutions, and the moment you get a result, you're happy, and that bit of stress is over and you move on. That's the healthy way of doing life. Now, we only worry about your stress when it's in the red, that this stress is now making you not perform your mental activities. Then we say, no, that is not good stress. And actually, in reality, that red stress is what we call mental illness. Okay, teacher, I hope you got me. Good. So during disaster, we remember when I was saying biopsychosocial spiritual model on your left of the screen, you can see those elements listed there. Okay, so during disaster, this is how these things are interacting. That when disaster strikes, it finds something on ground, and what it finds is an existence, a biopsychosocial spiritual existence. It's a package. Okay, it's finding people in this form, this health state, this economic state. It's finding our infrastructure in this form. It's finding our spiritual structure in this particular form. When that disaster strikes, then you see the first blue loop up. It feeds into what that disaster will do in terms of occurrence. Like, will the disaster happen or not? Okay, like, okay, not, let me not say happen, but will the disaster be felt or not? Because if it's the rains, for example, if God has said that it will rain, it will rain. But if whether this rain will translate into visible floods or not, now that is the occurrence. Then that will depend on the state of your biological, psychological, socio-economic, and spiritual state. Okay? So that's why we say it, where there is enough preparedness, the occurrence is not so visible. The rains happened, but we didn't quite see the flood because we had put our drainage systems, we had put our education, people are well educated, people are healthy people, you know, everyone can run away from the washers because they are healthy. You get those kind of things. And the frequency of us feeling the occurrence, that when it occurs, how often is it occurring? Like when these floods are occurring, how often are the floods occurring? There are some places where it flooded because of the infrastructure. When the infrastructure is well, then it may rain cats and dogs, but you don't actually see the flooding in that place. So the frequency will also depend on what the disaster found on ground. The magnitude, how much impact is it causing, will also depend on how are we physically, how are we psychologically? How are we socially, economically, spiritually? Okay. So psychologically, it's coming to education. Am I well educated about the floods or the rains? And that's why the government sometimes said, be educated and be warned that when these rains come, if you're living in a place that looks like this, please, you get. So if you are well educated, you will, take a protection line so that you don't feel the magnitude of that disaster so much. Okay. So the occurrence, frequency, and magnitude will largely depend on what the disaster found on the ground. Now, once this disaster happens, then the effect it has on us is stress. Okay, in a nutshell, whatever it is, think about it. Even if it was economic strain, it was a form of stress. Even if it was physical effect on me, it was a form of stress. Whatever it is, summarize it into stress. Okay, and that stress is what will lead into mental illness if the stress goes to the red. Remember, there's the green, yellow, and the red. So for the people who are well prepared, everything, like was under control, the disaster may be really heavy. Like maybe the rains were even heavier on you than they were in another county, but you didn't feel so stressed about it. You stressed because it found you well prepared and you managed it, and it went. But someone who was not prepared, even if the rain were very little, they will be distressed, and they are the candidates to drift into mental illness. Okay. So mental illness is when the stress is too much. Distress. Okay. And that mental illness will now affect your productivity. And this productivity will be seen in, again, the whole person. Remember now, again, the biopsychosocial spiritual entity, this society. Again, mental illness will affect this new existence. Like after the disaster, there's again a new person, new society, new school, new everything. It will be affected by mental illness. Your mental wellness will determine again how well your physical health is going to turn out, how well you're going to take care of yourself, how well you're going to learn, how well you're going to interact, how well you're going to revamp your economic strategies, how well you're going to communicate with your maker. So you can see it's like a continuous, a vicious circle, basically. So if it finds you on a negative note, then the effect is too negative, the result is negative, and now you remain a disadvantaged person. But the reverse is also very true. Okay. Yes. So when we talk mental illness, then I believe at level you have interacted with mental illness topics, and you can pick on the different manifestation of mental illness. So we have what we call mood illnesses, like you'll hear bipolar, depression. Okay. You may have interacted with psychosis. Most of the time you hear the word schizophrenia. Yeah, form of psychosis where you're seeing things, hearing things that, they're not actually real. Okay, or believing falsely. You may hear of substance use disorder. It's also a form of, okay, not all substance use, not all alcohol takers, not all smokers are actually in substance use disorder mode. But when they are using it in a distress form, in a way that affects their functioning, then that becomes a mental illness. Okay. Yes, some people may have memory illnesses now as a form of mental illness. Some, when we come to children, a lot of them, we call them neurodevelopmental disorders or childhood illnesses, okay? And you'll see ADHD, you'll see autism, you'll see conduct disorder. And sometimes, besides that, they also experience what adults experience, the depressions, the bipolar, the schizophrenia, okay? So anybody is vulnerable, whether it's a child, whether it's an adult, parent, teacher, whoever you are, everyone is a potential victim of mental illness, especially during, and let's just say after calamity, because during calamity, we usually, just look at it as genuine stress. But now when it goes beyond that, after the calamity and you're still in distress mode, the period qualifies you now to be in mental illness quadrant. So how do you tell that this person is actually distressed? In other words, this one is either growing towards or is already in the category of mental illness. Okay. So a lot of times and by the way, I told you to mark that compound word, the biopsychosocial spiritual model. It can help you explain everything. Okay. So when we are saying, what do you see in a person? Think the biological way, okay? So physically, biological refers to the physical person. So physically, it could be a headache, or you're having a stomach upset. You are having palpitation, like my chest is thumping. I just feel like my heart wants to come out of my chest. I'm having body weakness. I am sweating too much. Like, when they are in that anxiety mode, they sweat a lot. So physically, these are some of the things you may see. And in the process, you realize it's affecting now their basic activities of physical living, like eating. So someone either is eating too much or not eating at all. So either whatever extreme of eating can also signify distress, okay? Sleep is affected. So that becomes also another function when these things, the physical part is weighing into the distress, okay? So then the other sign who is on the psychological bit, so your emotions, your feelings. Am I feeling worried? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling angry? Okay. So you see a child like in a worry mode, they are hiding, they are, looking not sure of their next step. They feel like crying. Some of them go ahead and just cry. Some of them are angry, agitated to the level of their energy just gets multiplied, and they can do anything with that energy without thinking. So because they are agitated and they are coming to pick tea and they are finding the tea is not there, they throw that cup, let it break if it can't give me tea. This person who is not telling me what I should hear, let me hit them. So we break this window if it's not making so and so listen to me. You get like everything becomes an enemy for them. And so this energy decides to break the things around to, like clear the way for me. Let me just be free for my way. Okay. You also find that in that emotional experience, now the brain function of thinking and concentration is affected. Such a child cannot concentrate in class. Such a teacher cannot concentrate in class. Such a parent, if they are working, they are not able to concentrate at work. Even at home, now it becomes hard to concentrate because your head is spinning with too much that you can't just organize and make good use of those thoughts, okay? Yeah, behaviorally, now you find someone isolating, okay? Either keeping away from people. Now they are asking for off, like, I'm sorry, I can't make it today. So a child misses school, a teacher is always asking for this off. They are trying to keep away, okay? Or they will come, but they sit in a corner. Very unusual of them. They keep to some corner. They are the ones who used to be the first child to answer a question in class. Now they are not. They have been slammed, basically. Okay. Some of them, they become what we call disinhibited. Their behavior turns the other way around, like the energetic one now is going to be disinhibited until you're like, hey, now you don't even have respect. Hey, don't realize I'm your head teacher. How are you talking to me like that? And that this person, mental illness, think of it as that fuse in an iron or the radio or fridge. That fuse has a very big role in managing how much electricity passes, so that it only allows what is useful to go through. But where a fuse is blown, electricity comes and passes, and it will go whatever direction. It will blow up your screen, blow up your fridge. That is what mental health is, basically. So this person is disinhibited. The fuse is blown. So whatever electricity comes in, they will hear something and act on it immediately without even processing it, because the fuse is blown. Okay. So that is what you will see in this person. Too angry, too agitated, now talking too much, not giving you time to also talk, those kind of things. Spiritually, you also feel slammed, because maybe you're feeling guilty about whatever happened, or now you're doubting the path that you're following with your maker. You now go into over worshiping your God or under worshiping your God. So spiritual symptoms also will reflect mental illness in a person. Okay. So when we say this forum is important, it's because it's very important for us to address the mental health in our schools. If we don't, that child, because of the distress they are having, they are bound to drop out of school. Okay? That child is bound to have difficulties in learning. Grades start dropping. And the whole essence of you having students under you is you want the best for them, you want success. But this child starts dropping in grades because it's difficult to concentrate. My head is crowded, or my thinking, my fuse blew. So what can I can't even control what you're telling me. So, okay. Behaviorally, they will have difficulties. They start finding themselves in disciplinary problems because it's too much for them. And so the fuse is sending them to disinhibition and controlled activities around them. Okay. You're also looking at the success of their career as a child, as a teacher, as a parent. Success is minimized because remember that vicious circle, that our biopsychospiritual state is fueled by our health state, our mind state, and the vice versa. So if my mind is not in good state, even my economic endeavors also go low. So if I was going to school, or if I was sending my child to school, my finances go low, I can no longer pay their school fees. I change them school, or just tell them don't go to school. Like, I don't have money to pay for you. Okay. So it really affects them. Okay. So ultimately their profession, their career gets damaged, or we call it amputated. Yeah, so mental illness can amputate someone's career as a student, as a professional. So it's important that we address these things so that everyone is happy as they do what they do. For a child, their work entails a lot of learning. So if they can't learn, they're not working. And anyone that is feeling not useful, they get drawn into what we call hopelessness, And then we start seeing what we call suicidal tendencies. You've heard of people who just kill themselves. It's not like they are that bad. Some of us think, hey, that's bad. We don't even bury them decently because we are thinking they have committed such a crime. But honestly, their mind was just unable to take in all that. Okay. And that is what happens. That's the end of many of those people whose mental illness is not addressed. So the dropping out of school is bad, but it can be as bad as losing this person totally through suicide. We have children cases in Kenya that we've lost and around the world. So you can imagine if a 7, 8-year-old is going to commit suicide, what is going on in that head? And you can easily get back to the biopsychosocial spiritual explanation and probably address that concern, even if it was an economic concern. When you address it, their mind becomes at peace and you're able to get your child back to their usual routine. Okay. So when we are looking at a calamity, addressing the mental health of these people becomes very key. And as you address it, you have to also confine yourself to some boundaries. You have to realize that you can't do everything at the same time. You have to understand, where is this person? Where is this child? Where is this man? Where is this woman in their life of calamity? So there's this person who is before the calamity hits. And for the floods, I believe most of us got the red alerts from the meteorological department and so many other fields that this thing is coming. So the preparedness for that calamity was a good point of mental health assessment and support for everyone. Okay. When you prepare someone, they go into it, it meets them. You see, like if you prepare a child for examination, you tell them, by the way, next week on Thursday, we're going to have a test on mathematics. It will include this topic A, B, and C. This child will have these days to think about it, rant about it, make peace, sit down, read, and when that day comes, they're bound to produce good results because they were prepared. But if you come to class, this child is waiting for teaching and you walk in with examination, that's a shocker. And this child's performance can easily go on the negative because the brain was not able to take in the shock. Okay? So you have to prepare. It's good to prepare. Of course, I know in school, there are times we have impromptu exams, yeah, but you should know what's the frequency and which child am I giving this kind of a task. You don't just assume all children are the same. There are those who will manage it. There are those who will not hold that stress. So let's learn to support the child and the community around us. During the disaster, once the disaster strikes, there is the short term. The first few minutes, few hours, few days with this person that is a victim. What we give at that point is a lot what we call psychological first aid. Okay, this is not time to tell this person about schizophrenia, bipolar. What for? What will it help this person? At that time, they just want to be calmed. They want to be told that it is okay. We have things under control. You will be attended to. What is your need right now? Oh, I'm even hungry. I had not eaten. Okay, I'll help them access some food. Oh, I don't even know where I'm sleeping today. Okay, let's give you this place to sleep today. You get their immediate need. That psychological support is very important to just address that need, okay? And it's not the time to ask them, but you had been told to move away from this house. What happened? How did the rain find you here? It is not the time for that, okay? Psychological first aid means, what is your need right now? This minute, this hour, this day, and that is what you address and support them mentally to feel strong enough to take on tomorrow, okay? Once that is done, then you get into the intermediate period, which is post the disaster, the first few days, sometimes months, depending on who you're dealing with. And you know, it's a community, so different people are affected differently. And you try to individualize this care as much as possible. You don't do a blanket throw and say, now all those people who are affected in Kibera, all of you go and sleep in Kitengela house number. You don't do that, okay? You want to sit and analyze every person, their situation, and say, oh, okay, what do you have? What resources do you have? This has been destroyed. What else do you have? And they tell you, by the way, my brother stays in Kiambu, in this place, and I think if you call them, they can be of help. You get? So that person will go there, but the rest of the other people, maybe their scenario is very different. So there are those that have no one individually to go to, and you can lump them, for example, into a school. And I'm sure most of you, your schools became our homes. Okay, so a school becomes an option, an institution, any building, any place that can offer that accommodation becomes a go-to to help those who don't have individual help in their social networks. Okay, so that's the intermediate where now you care for them for the first few days or few months, depending on the effect it has had on them. So in that time, you continue with your mental assessment, you continue addressing the biopsychosocial, spiritual needs of that person. For example, you don't ignore to educate them, tell them, this has happened, it was predicted, and this has happened, but the same prediction says it will go on for this while, so expect to be here for this long. Educate them, educate them. Education is power. It helps the brain feel at peace when you show it that you know what's going on. Okay? So educate them as much as possible and let them know where to get help when they need it. Who do I call when I need ABCD? Connect them to those helplines. Okay? That is part of mental capacitation for these people. We are also looking at a possibility that these floods happen and you're in school already with this many children. Okay, so what is your evacuation strategy? You cannot just tell them, you know, we are in school, you have to go to class. I don't know if you have boots, what, let's meet in class. I mean, you have to think, what is the situation? Is it a situation I can tell them, keep to the dormitories as we clean up the classrooms, or as we work on the drainage system quickly, which will take some hours, and we are good? Or whatever it is, we can't clear it in hours. We may not even clear it in days. So kindly allow us to call your parents. And remember, you communicate to them, okay? Communication, as I've said, is key, because that education empowers the brain to start making peace with that situation, with that reality, and cooperating, okay? Now, long-term, then that comes to sit and ask the hard questions. Where did the rain start beating us? And what can we do about it? Then you rewire your infrastructure, okay? So that when the next calamity strikes, the magnitude, the frequency will not be as bad as before, okay? And in that, then I think I've been explaining these responses, like in the immediate state, these are the things you do for this affected person. And then in the long term, then we are strategizing, rewiring our infrastructure. For everyone, including school, the whole essence of restructuring is to build resilience, okay? This resilience is to help your mind always function at the optimum capacity. You build it by revisiting our model. Okay, you still remember it, biopsychosocial spiritual model. So build this person, build this community biologically. Okay, so have your routine health check. Okay, so that when there's a problem, let it be handled. When you need to be treated, go and be treated. Okay, we see people coming for routine medical checkup, but a lot of it is the physical. Nowadays, we encourage that in that checkup, please don't miss out the mental health checkup. It's very important, okay? And that can be done even in our schools. We just have a routine checkup. You can call the professionals and they just come in to do a routine mental health check for the children, for teachers, and all the other staff. So you encourage the proper eating, sleeping, drinking, and exercising. Psychologically, we say keep learning. The beauty is you're looking at school community already. So people come with a mindset of, I'm here to learn. So you support this learning in the best way possible, because the more they learn, the more they are prepared to face whatever calamity may affect them, okay? And routine counseling is also very important, because you just don't know what is affecting this person. Sometimes someone thinks they are managing until they meet a professional that tells them, no, this is not managing. This one needs help, okay? Help us build healthy relationships. Let us be friends even as we are learners. Let us be friends even as we are teachers. Let us be friends even as we are partners, okay? Build healthy relationships. Minimize on enemies. Like, honestly, they'll just sap your energy. They'll disrupt your infrastructure, okay? And let's build money skills in a child and in an adult. There's no age limit to building money skills. You can find a 10-year-old who, when taught money skills, they can do better than a 30-year-old on a particular financial project. So let's not limit, because the more they understand, the more they can take charge of a situation when calamity strikes. Okay? Let's keep connected to our maker, because without that, then our existence is actually absent. Okay? All this medically, we say, fuels your happiness hormones that we call dopamine. So whatever moment you get, you want to boost on your happiness hormones. So do this and you're there. I put this for us to just see how we can make a continuous effort in our learning institutions to build mental health. So there's this continuum of care that looks at different needs of a person. So when calamity strikes, or even when you're receiving a child, the first thing you want to ensure is their physiological needs. Remember the biological of I eat, I sleep, okay? If I can't eat, then what else can you tell me? Even in class, I will not concentrate, okay? So whatever it is, it must first capture their food. If you get your quota from the government and it's too little, the first thing you will do is buy food. Think about the other plate, okay? So look at the level of your capacity and address from starting from the basic need to the most advanced need, okay? So when you have that in picture, then you are bringing in mental health to your child, to your school in this quadratic manner, that you are, for every child, you remember their social emotional needs. Whatever learning you're giving them, ensure it is cognizant of their social emotional needs. You ensure equity, because discrimination deters learning, and that by default will affect their mental wellness. You look at their strength. Let every child know that they are unique, they are special, they are relevant in the community. That is why you have picked that they can run, even if they can't do arithmetics very well. but they can run very well, or they can draw very well, and let that be a point of esteem for this child instead of profiling all of them using one intelligence. I believe we're all familiar with the different forms of intelligences. So you subject your children to the difference in different intelligence assessments so that you are not always upholding one child over the other just because of their difference in intelligences, okay? Trauma-informed mental health is very important. Have a surveillance system that identifies which child is traumatized. And this trauma comes from very different sources. This calamity is one of them, but there are other things that could be happening at home, at school, in class, everything in the offices that are traumatizing this child, this teacher, or whoever. So have a surveillance method. It could be, we call them mentorship teams in the school. Like this child is accountable to this one, so it's a social network, or this child is accountable to this teacher. So this teacher can always check in with this child randomly to just see what's happening. This teacher is accountable to this other teacher or to this other head. Like, have those groupings that help someone have a place of expression. Okay, good. So once we have that in our school system, then we have helped this child and this teacher and everyone else to build their mental health. So in a nutshell, for us to handle our calamities well, let us build our preparedness. This blue circle is to help us that disaster strikes at a particular point in our life or in our timeline. But the most of time is for us to do a lot. So let's put structures in place. Let us interact with different resources, people, organizations, government entities. Even these children have good ideas that when we tap into, they help us prepare for the next more efficiently. So let's mitigate other than just waiting to handle the crisis. It bites bigger, it bites deeper, it's more painful and disrupts our mind and our existence at large. So let me conclude by encouraging us to continue with this mission of education and mental health as a human right. And also remember that teachers may just be facing similar problems like what the child is facing. So look at the child, look at their guide, their mentor, okay? Schools are a good place to educate on health and also reduce on stigma. Mental health is associated with a lot of stigma, but schools help us break that. So we are open. I'm currently based at Child Mental Haven, but I also serve at Mathari Hospital. And we are open to receive anybody, whether as an individual or as an institution, to offer best care so that we have an excellent future generation. Thank you for listening. And now questions can come. Back to you, Betty.
Thank you so much, Dr. Milka. At this point in time, I will invite any questions. You can just raise your hand and mute you so that you can ask the question, or we can use our chat platform or our Q&A platform. Thank you so much for that elaborate training on matters to do with mental health. And yes, it's true. It's very key, especially for us educators when it comes to handling, of course, the learners, and also getting to identify what are some of these signs that one can experience when they're going through mental breakdown or when they're going through stress. Thank you so much, Daktari. So inviting any question or any clarification.
Yes, anybody is welcome to ask.
Hampton Jeru has raised his hand. Hampton, do you have a question? I've seen your hand is raised. You can just unmute and ask the question. Okay. Seems there's none. Anyone who has a question? Or
But no one understood anything.
Sorry?
No one understood anything.
We have a very good class.
Anything is possible. I'm praying it so on the positive note that we've got it,
Yes,
and we're going to implement.
absolutely, yes.
Yes.
So if there's none, so Daktari, how can we reach you? If you want, of course, to
Yes,
you want to access your
can feel
service.
free to share. Yes, you can feel free to share my contact, the phone number. You have it, or you want me to say?
Absolutely, yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. So my phone number is 0716767631. And my email is orlandomilka@gmail.com. Anyone is free to contact me. And whether you want to be served in the public space, I told you, I will serve you at Mathari Hospital. Whether you want to be served in a private space, Child Mental Heaven is open for, it's a family center, as you had told them. So we welcome you as an individual or as a school, as an institution, whatever form, we will be here for you, okay? Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Daktari is available if you want to meet her at either a public space or a private space. We'll still share with you her contacts on email and even SMS. If you want to reach out to her for consultancy purposes, or even if you want her to address your teachers in school or even the learners, she's so much available, because now mental health is really taking actually a toll on so many learners and so many institutions. And with that, of course, allow me just to, for the sake of those people who are joining us for the first time, allow me to just mention to you what we do as Ed Partners Africa. We are a financial institution, a credit only, that deals with edu financing, specifically targeting schools. We offer both financial and non-financial solution. And our financial solution includes school transport, school development, upgrade. We have also matters to do with renewable energy and water hygiene and sanitation. For non-financial services, it includes the capacity building programs that we offer monthly, the webinars, the trainings, and any other program that will just help support your school and enhance the capacity of your school to grow. So, and with those short and few remarks, I want to once again thank you, Daktari. I'm hoping we can also have a part 2 of the same.
You're welcome.
Yes, yeah, so that we can see how we can sensitize matters to do with mental health to the schools that you're serving. Without any further ado, I just want to wish you a blessed weekend, and thank you so much for joining, and see you next time. And it's a goodbye from us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Have a blessed day.
Have a blessed one too.